Tonight's program, Grief and Loss in Addiction and Recovery, will be presented by Janice Fern and Barb Smith. Janice worked as an outpatient social worker at the Carmanos Cancer Center in Detroit for several years before moving to the University of Michigan Hospital, where she is a clinical social worker on the adult palliative care consult team, supporting patient and families with decisions about goals of care and end of life. Janice earned her MSW from the University of Michigan in 2004 and is a doctoral student in the palliative care program at Lancaster University in the United Kingdom. Barb Smith will speak after Janice, sharing her personal experience with grief, loss, and recovery. Barb is the author of a book titled Brent's World. Please help me welcome Janice and Barb.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to talk about grief and loss, which I think, just fair warning as we go into the next hour of this, I mean, this is a heavy thing to talk about, and a hard thing to talk about and sit with for an hour. So thank you for doing that, and I think it can be hard to reflect back on your own loss and your grief and to think about these things, but it's also really important to do. And in order to work on grief and to move through grief, we really do need to sit with it and take time to look at it closely. The other thing I'd like to say about what I'm about to present is that it is going to touch on a lot of different aspects of grief and loss. It's not meant to go very in depth in all of those areas. And so I'm happy afterwards if people want to talk about where to look for more information. The resource packet also has some options. All right, so I want to go over why we need to talk about grief and why that's important. Try to understand why we experience grief. And some of that will be looking at theories, and then specifically looking at grief and addiction, and then grief and recovery, and talking about what can help. Okay. So talking about grief is important because we all experience grief. Every time there's a change in our lives, whether it's a change we choose and one we're happy about. For example, I'm getting married in July. That is the thing I'm choosing, and I'm happy about it. But I'm also losing a piece of my identity that I've worked really hard to, that piece of my singleness. And so there is a loss with that change, even though I'm happy about it and want to do it. And so to live is to experience loss. And in some ways, these are all little deaths. We mourn some piece that's leaving, and we kind of move into what we're becoming. And really, it's inevitable. I think the big piece is that growth is what comes from those changes. But growth is optional. We don't have to participate in the work that it takes